What if I told you you could be better just by putting a new insole in your shoe? Well, I might have the data and the guy that helped create it here today to back that up with our Blumaka shoe insoles, as well as the Flex Footwear Recovery Fleet. Stuart Jenkins, Chief Innovation Officer, joins us to talk about how the Blumaka insoles are changing the game for MLB athletes, NFL athletes, and athletes no matter where they're at. And perhaps if you just have tired feet and you need something to help you out, yes, I'm talking to you, scouts on the road, agents on the road, insoles that are going to help improve everything you do. That is going to be Blumaka insoles, BLUMAKA.com is where you're going to check those out. And I'm going to give you the code right now. Hop on as you listen today. Use code Scouting20 as you're listening, as you hear the backstory, how Stuart got into it, his Olympic background, and how he is changing the game in terms of performance, recovery, and how he's dealing with the turf toe. All of that here today on Scouting the League. Everybody, and welcome to Scouting the League. Really excited, a really fun conversation with Stuart Jenkins, Chief Innovation Officer at Blumaka, as well as Flex Footwear. Before we jump in with that, let me remind you, go like, subscribe, and share this podcast wherever you are listening and watching. Definitely encourage you to watch this YouTube video today, as Stuart has some really nice videos, some really nice demonstrations of both the product and how it works, some nice visuals if you're questioning, hey, how can an insole help me with, again, plantar fasciitis, turf toe, or anything in between. So go check us out on YouTube. While you're there, subscribe. Give myself a follow. I am at RightStepADV on X. Co-host who is not here today, usually around, Neil Stratton. Make sure you go follow Neil as well. He is at Inside the League if you're not already. InsideTheLeague.com is his website. And Stuart Jenkins, our guest. Just search his name, find him on Blumaka. Go find him at LinkedIn. He's going to be out there as well. Scouts, definitely encourage you to check this out. Share this information with a friend. GMs that are listening, again, use that code as you start to get your roster, your coaching staff, everybody lined up with these insoles. So again, everybody, there's a piece for you today. For the scouting community, make sure you go check it out as well. Check out thescoutingcommunity.com. Perhaps we'll have an extra discount in there for you as well. Go check out thescoutingcommunity.com. If you're a scout or aspiring scout, hit me up. We are working to make the scouting world better, and perhaps some insoles may be one of the ways we can do that. But Stuart Jenkins, let's get to him today. He has a fascinating background. Companies like Hoka helped develop the air technology that we have in so many of our shoes today. An avid runner, somebody that is interested not in just improving performance, but using recycled content, using cleaner manufacturing, no chemicals, as he continues to change the game. Some fantastic stories about high-profile athletes, and we're going to hear about how it is making its way into the NFL. So use that code SCOUTING20 as you are listening today. Head to blumaka.com. Check the show notes for that website as we hop in here with Stuart. Well, Stuart Jenkins, welcome to Scouting the League.
Thank you, Rodrik. Great to be with you.
It is. It's been a fun conversation getting to know you, getting to know your product, using your product, which we'll talk all about that. Again, throwing some really nice insoles in before you go to an amusement park for 4 days is game saving. Again, allows me to keep up with my kids, who I don't know where they get the energy, but again, allows me to keep up. But before we get into, again, really the product, what you're doing, let's find out more about you, because you got a really fun, interesting background. Again, for my Nebraska friends, again, my Nebraska family, again, from a little town in Nebraska to Olympic trials, and now, again, really changing the industry from the insole game, along with the shoes along the way. So tell us a little background, how you got to where you are today.
Well, yeah, I tell my wife all roads lead through Nebraska, although it seems like there's very few people there. But I'm proud of my Nebraska roots for sure. I grew up on a family cattle ranch about 18 miles southwest of Broken Bow, Nebraska. in Custer County. My family actually showed up in Custer County before Custer County was a county, and they organized that place in my great uncle's backyard in our log cabin. So we have deep roots there, and my brother and I still operate the ranch. He lives there, and I wasn't smart enough to run a ranch, so I got in the footwear business.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And if you need to Google Maps Broken Bow, again, it's one of those ones where, again, yeah, having driven through, again, just a little north of Lexington, dead center of the state, again, you can find it. But it's one of those spots if you want to get to Broken Bow, you have to be intentional about it. You don't end up just tripping through it, which again, if you have the chance to, highly recommend it. You'll probably see the Jenkins name somewhere around there. So again, grow up in a small town, runner, athlete, Olympic trials, probably led you to the shoe game, to the shoe business. Talk about all the running you did and kind of the different steps along the way there.
Yeah, well, I thought like every Nebraskan, you think you want to play football, but at
Of
130
course.
pounds, I probably wasn't going to do that well in football as a freshman, and went out for track and found I had sort of an affinity for distance running, and we had a great track coach who really inspired me, if you will, and the one thing about running that's a little different than a team sport is you can kind of control your own environment. And I remember I was out on this dusty, dirty road. It was over by Callaway and my friend Charles Nansel farm. I was running between his farm and the cemetery, and I just had this idea. I said, I think anybody that works hard and is dedicated can run in the Olympic trials in the marathon. I knew I wasn't very fast. If I ran a 40-yard dash, you still had to get out to a sundial to time me, I think. But I just thought, if you worked hard and every day you could run in the Olympic trials. And 8 years later, I found myself at Boston with a race where I could qualify for the Olympic trials. I'd logged all my running. I'd run for 8 straight years, never missed a day, ran 26,000 miles, which is 1,000 miles for every mile of that marathon. And
Yeah.
I was fortunate. I ran that race in 2 hours and 19 minutes. You had to run 2 hours, 19 minutes, and 4 seconds, if you can imagine, to qualify. So, yeah, I'm an Olympic trials qualifier, but barely. And I'm not sure there's anybody else from Broken Bow, Nebraska, that's ever qualified for the Olympic trials. Um, but the dirt roads and growing up on a ranch. I mean, hell, my dad, we'd go out and sit on the tractors and put up hay from 7 o'clock in the morning till about 7 or 8 at night, and I'd shut off the tractor and go out and run 100 miles a week, and then go get home and eat and go to bed and do it all over the next day. And I think I just found the those dirt roads and those country roads to be a great place to train. But maybe my favorite story, I was in the grocery store in Callaway one day, and a little kindergartner or something walked up to me and says, "Why doesn't your daddy buy you a car?"
Yes, that is perfect. Again, probably always the recognized kid, running around, just doing everywhere. Where everybody else had bikes, perhaps you were just going to, run and keep up with them. And it was
Well,
my dad, again, small town, Eastern Colorado, track coach for 30 some years, multiple state championships, and we lived out on a gravel road with a nice hill
yeah.
right next to it. And again, I can remember some of those nice track workouts where we'd load up some vehicles, a bus, head out there, and it's like, all right, start running up this hill on the gravel roads. We'll flag down the cars at the top, make sure nobody gets hit. Maybe frowned upon today, but again, there is nothing like training on some gravel roads, running hard, and just figuring it out in the
Uh,
country. Something you could always appreciate and have in the back pocket, right?
well, for sure. And I was a novelty, and of course, at first, I think people thought it was weird, and then I sort of became the village mascot. But I can tell you that after a long run, if I'd show up at the snack shop or wherever, I never had to buy a drink
Yeah.
because some farmer, I remember this guy, um Homer Sneringer, he had bad knees. And one time he ran out of gas and he was a couple miles from home. And I saw him walking and he couldn't walk very well. And I said, "Oh, Homer, I'll just go to your house and have your wife get the car. Man, Homer bought me drinks for the rest of my life. But and those dusty roads, I would be running along and everybody would slow down so they didn't kick up too much dust. So,
Yeah,
it was great. But I think those dirt roads, great time to think and quiet, and there was no traffic. I mean, I could
yeah,
do a 20-mile run sometimes and not see anybody. I remember one blizzard. I was about a mile and a half from home, and these kids were out drinking beer in their Ford Bronco, and they were axle deep in snow, and they were trying to dig themselves out. High school kids drinking, and I pull up behind them. Of course, they had no idea anybody was around, and
yeah,
one of the guys turned around and goes, "Geez, what the heck are you doing here?" And I said, "Hey, I'm still moving. What the heck are you doing?"
yeah, yeah.
But it's small town America.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely appreciate it. So before you get in the insoles game and what we're going to talk about with Blumaka, you were in the shoe game. You were a part of some big name shoe brands. Again, being a runner, every runner out there knows that, again, an important part of your, maybe the only part that matters from running. Again, you can throw your short shorts, your long shorts, again, whatever you want to, you better have some good shoes. So talk about your shoe impact, how that impacted you, the companies you worked with, and kind of how that led to what you're doing with Blumaka now.
Yeah, certainly, the one essential piece of equipment for running is footwear. And, you know, being a runner in the late 70s, it was kind of a changing time for footwear. And I would literally win races win shoes at local races, as a age division winner or something. And of course, you couldn't be too picky about it. You wore whatever the hell they gave you because you didn't have enough money to go buy a brand new shoe. So even if
Mm-hmm.
you didn't like the brand, even if it didn't fit that well, you threw on two pair of socks. But I remember modifying my shoes. If the Achilles, like on the Nike LDV, the Achilles tab was always too high and always got a blister. Well, I did that for a couple pair of shoes, and then I thought, you know what? Take a pair of scissors and cut that damn thing off. I mean, kind of the rancher farmer thing. Or if the shoe was too stiff, I'd just go get mom's butcher knife and slice the midsole and the outsole so it was more flexible in the forefoot so that I could use it. And that really made me believe that, and if it worked, it made you believe you could do better, right? That you could. These shoe companies weren't clairvoyant or perfect, or if a shoe was too hard, I'd just go get a drill and drill some holes in the foam, and you remove foam in the heel of the shoe, and it'll get softer. And but really, my fortunate break in footwear came as I didn't really want to go to college right away. I was trying to avoid it. I'm dyslexic, so school was not that easy, and I wanted to run across the country and be the youngest person to do that. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was 17 years old trying to get sponsorship, and I started writing people. And one of the trustees at the school I was attending in St. Louis said, "Oh, I have a friend, and he's an inventor. He invented one-handled water faucets, and he's working on a shoe." And so he was he was from a place I'd never heard of, Pebble Beach, California. So I write him, and he said, "Well, my shoe won't make it across the street, let alone across the country. Maybe you could help me." And of course, what are the chances of working on an invention that works? I mean, if you filled the Rose Bowl with every patent holder and then you told everybody to leave that never made money on their patent, you'd only have 6 people left in the Rose
Yeah.
Bowl out of 106,000. So the odds are low, right? And it turned out this guy wanted to put air in shoes. This was before Nike Air. And so we built this shoe that it's right over my head here, where the air moves back and forth, and ended up I tried to sell that to 94 shoe companies, which got me to know everybody in the footwear industry. They all turned me down except Reebok on the fifth time. And it became a very popular shoe, and we sold millions of those shoes. So I really started helping inventors bring their products to market. You see the Tuned Air shoe up here from Nike. Worked with a group that invented that technology and then licensed it to Nike and introduced carbon fiber. So I was always bringing technology from the outside in. And in about 2008, the CEO at Deckers on Hill said, well, you're always kind of bringing things from the outside in. What if you work on the inside? Sort of, I would like to hire the poacher to be the game warden, if you will. And my job was innovation at Deckers. And one of the products that walked through the door was the Hoka running shoes when they'd sold about 800 pair. And people thought, this was the height of barefoot running. And I thought that Hoka was great. I mean, they were not very cute. They were pretty ugly, and I figured you could change ugly in shoes, and so we really onboarded Hoka and made an investment, and I started working on the Hoka thing, and so I just like innovation and I like bringing new things to market. That's kind of my passion, and I've been fortunate enough to have some success. But you're always doing stuff that everybody else thinks is crazy. I mean, the Hoka story is I brought it to the executive team of the Hoka or at Deckers. There were 28 people in the room, and I got 2 votes. My vote and the CEO, and the only vote that mattered was the CEO. But
Yep.
think about that CEO who went against the advice of every one of his executives.
Yeah.
And it shows you that innovation is really not a democracy. Somebody has to plant a flag.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean, we got absolutely ridiculed for thinking that Hoka was going to work because everything was barefoot. Aunt Tilly had
Yeah.
been healed running barefoot, and
Yeah.
it worked
Yeah.
out pretty well.
Yeah, again, anybody listening to this podcast has probably put on either a pair of Nike Airs or a pair of Hokas, if not both. And I'd imagine a lot of people sitting out there probably have a pair of both somewhere in their closet. So again,
Well,
you
well,
go
but
ahead.
to be clear, I didn't do the Nike Air. We had to license ours to Reebok. They came out with their version with the airbag. We moved the air from the heel to the toe, and so we didn't have that much success. But we had an air shoe before Nike did
Yeah,
as
and and
individuals. But
and
yeah,
we probably know again. Nike's got their spies all over, as we all know. And again, all fun and games in it. But again, it's the competition. Reebok and Nike. If you watch
that was
the Jordan documentary, and again some of the different things that have come out. Again, really fun. It's a competition game, just like athletics, which is why again an inventor, somebody pushing the boundaries, somebody doing things that no one else has done. Again, it's a perfect personality fit along with having some of the know-how, the drive, the will to do it. And again, for those that are sitting out here listening, as we're talking, head over to blumaka.com, blumaka.com, or flexfootwear.com, fleks footwear.com. Use that code scouting20 as you start thinking about getting some of these products. And as we get into the insoles now, the Blumaka insoles, which again is really what we're going to spend some time talking about today, because really starting to see some uptick in the sports world. And we're really going to focus on the 3 products: the non-slip insoles, which again, from a training aspect, from athletes that want some comfort, want some again increased performance. If you can be 2% better, we all know what that makes in dividends. The Carbon Elite insole turf toe, which again, anybody that's ever been in football knows that turf toe can be almost debilitating. It can slow you down. It can stop you dead in your tracks. If you can, control it, if you can, get better from it. Again, that turf toe, that you've got the Carbon Elite. We'll talk about that, and then just your recovery aspect, your day to day comfort wear to improve your legs. Again, recovery is such a big part of it. So again, if you're thinking about these products, listening to Stuart talk about them, head over to those 2 sites, blumaka.com, flexfootwear.com. Use that code scouting20 as you stick those items in your car. But let's start with the non-slip insoles. Again, talk to us about kind of developing those, the data behind it, what you have seen, and kind of the growth in that market.
yeah, sure. I think Rodrik, the challenge that innovators like us have is that everybody makes these claims and people just don't believe them. There's just too much puffery. There's too much BS out there. And so our challenge has been when you claim that an insole improves performance, if I told you that, you're skeptical, right?
Of course.
Okay. But now ask this question. Where does slipping help you perform better in sports?
Yeah.
Nowhere.
Nowhere.
Why do you have cleats on your shoes? So
Nope.
you don't slip. Why do you have great traction system designed for basketball? So you don't slip. And yet if you think about it, inside your shoes, your sock and your sock liner, the insole that your foot sits on, they have fabric, and I'll demonstrate this to you. So you take this. I've got my sock puppet on. If I slide this, this is a normal insole, and I'm not berating anybody here, but this is what you do. And if I go over to the non-slip side of this, right? I don't move. I'm not putting any more pressure on one of these than the other. I just can't move. So everyone knows that performance starts with your feet, and performance starts from the ground up. And anytime you're moving or sliding around, you're losing force. And so I developed this insole. I sent a pair to a friend of a friend named Mike Yastrzemski, who was a baseball player for the San Francisco Giants. And he put them on. I didn't call him back. I didn't force him to say anything. But right before training camp, he said, "Hey, send me two more." And I go, "Oh, you like the product?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, they're great." And I go, "Well, thanks for telling me. I've been waiting for 3 months."
Yeah.
And he gets to training camp, calls me a couple days later and says, "Hey, some buddies want these. Can you send 5 more?" Sure. A couple days later, "Can you send 5 more?" Sure. A couple days later, "Can you send me 5 more?" I said, "Mike, you have every insole I've ever made." And he goes, "Well, you better start making them because the guys like them."
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later, I was sitting eating breakfast in my kitchen on a Sunday morning, and I get a call, and it says, "Hello, this is Donnie Eckert. I'm the hitting coach for the San Francisco Giants. What are you doing?" I mean, and he was as serious as a heart attack. I thought oh, this guy's PO'd because I'm messing with his players. He is going to chew me out. And I said, "Well, Donnie, I don't really know what I'm doing. I just know that slipping and sliding inside your shoes is not helpful to performance." He goes, "Well, I'll tell you what you're doing. You're improving ground reaction force. You're maintaining the kinetic chain longer so that the guys can use the ground to hit balls farther and more accurately." Yeah, that's what we're doing, Donnie.
Yeah.
And
Okay, that's what I'm
so
doing.
it just kind of went from player to player to player to the point where we got everyone in the major league, every baseball team in major league has multiple players buying our product. We're not giving them to them. We've got one guy for the Dodgers who bought 20 pair. But finally, a team, I sent them 80 insoles. They took 8 months, tested our insole on 200 professional athletes, and they found, this is their study and it's available on our website, the full study said that 80% of the athletes started and stopped faster. Now think what that does to athletic performance. If whatever your sport, baseball, football, cutting, turning, trying to run routes, baseball, turning to hit. So 80% of the athletes started and stopped faster, and 80% of the athletes were more stable from the knee to the ground. Well, anytime you can be more stable from the knee to the ground, you're going to have a reduced risk of injury. And the most incredible number is that 90% of the athletes ran faster and had a longer stride length. But that makes sense. If you're starting, think of starting on a gym floor. If you're like here and your foot just does this before you can start,
Yeah.
you're losing a quarter of an inch before you start.
Yeah.
Now you go over here, you start when you start.
Yeah.
And if you increase your stride length by even a quarter of an inch, you're going to run faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Every
so,
every every one of our trainers, again, the combine, again, we're a football podcast. Combine training is a multi-million dollar industry. Again, it's going to be $1 billion industry soon. Every trainer should be lining up to get these. You come to my gym, again, stick a pair of insoles in their shoes and automatically you're getting percentages better on these athletes. So again, trainers, we're giving you a discount here. Scouting 20, get on,
yeah.
try some pairs. Again, start testing them. Agents should be ordering them for their guys as well. Again, right off the bat, stick them in your shoes. You don't have to do anything else. Just wear these insoles. It's going to start improving performance. Again, you really got your start in baseball. You've got Yastrzemski. as a Dodgers fan, again, I really like Mike. He plays the right way. He's fun to watch. Again, I'm glad to hear a Dodgers player's wearing him. Brendan Donovan, a Cardinals guy. Again, we kind of a good transition to talk about the turf toe. Again, turf toe in baseball, you don't think about it as much, but again, it's an impact, it's a cutting, change of direction injury. Obviously it's well known in football. Again, just listen to any of Coach Prime's stories, what he's had done with his feet. Turf toe is a tough injury to deal with. It can be debilitating. You developed this Carbon Elite insole for your shoe, for the insoles for Blumaka. Talk to us
Yep.
about those now and how that is really changing the game.
Yeah. So, uh, uh, trainers, I agree with you. You know, go get the 20% discount because your job is to make athletes faster. And the way you get faster is starting and stopping faster.
Yeah.
We have a gym in Denver, Pivotal Sports. Those guys call them up. I mean, they have seen the results. We have several gyms that when athletes come in for the combine, the first thing they do is put them in these insoles because they're getting paid to show these athletes they're improving.
Yep.
Anyway, so turf toe, just for, you know, everybody I think understands that it's the big toe joint in the foot, and you're basically taking that big toe. I don't know how to demonstrate. You take the big toe, you push it back, and then you keep on going.
Yeah.
And so it's that joint that sort of decouples, and it's extremely painful. And the solution to turf toe has been things like this. You put
Nice
a
steel plate.
stainless steel
Put a
plate,
steel plate in your shoe.
or you put a carbon plate that's, I mean, literally stiffer than plywood. I mean, I'm pushing as hard as I can. Now, imagine trying to perform well with this in your shoe. This is not how you're going to get an athlete to perform well. And we know athletes want to get back on the field, and they're either not going to wear it, so they're going to continue to aggravate their injury, reduce their efficiency. So we created a what we call the non-slip carbon elite. And you can see in the back, see the dark, that's the magic. That is a carbon fiber plate. We put a split in it because you, if you're going to be an athlete, you still need to get medial to lateral mobility. This just forces you to torque one way or another. So this allows this split, allows you to have medial to lateral. But here's the magic. This insole, the carbon fiber is very soft like this. I cannot do anything with this carbon. I can't pull it down. So when I'm running or standing, I can have my foot flat and not have pressure on it. But when I get to here, this carbon plate becomes rigid or stiff. So it allows your foot to bend just like it needs to bend to run full speed, but it will not allow your toe to rotate or over rotate backwards. And we have a peer-reviewed study that says you can run just as fast in this as without it. So you can perform at your maximum speed while integrating protection. Fun story, you mentioned Brendan Donovan. What a great guy. He's been using our insoles, and he's been so generous with a small company to give us testimonials. And so he got turf toe in early June. Calls me up. We sent him one of these, and they thought he would miss several weeks of games. And keep in mind, you know, they're in the middle of the pack. They're in a pennant race. He's hitting 300. He's their most important player. And as he says, you know, I can't help my team win if I'm sitting on the bench. They set him out 4 games, and he started playing with this. And he texted me about 3 weeks later and said, Stuart, I'm completely recovered, and I'm back to my normal insoles, and I'm not going to let that creep up on me again. And we introduced this to the NFL at their trainers show in late April, early May. And I think as of yesterday, we have 10 or 12 NFL teams that have purchased this product. And again, this is not, Rodrik, because we've got the great marketing machine and spending millions, and we're not giving them product. But, you know, we've had 2 teams order over 100 pair of these insoles. And they've been buying sort of a mix. We had a team yesterday that bought 35 carbon and then just 35 of the non-slip. So we love the fact that pinnacle sports franchises, people that make a living on their feet by performing the best they can, are adopting a product from this little teeny company that nobody has heard of. I mean that's what you live for as an innovator is and look, down at the NFL show, I mean I had several trainers from these teams said, "Hey, I've been looking for a product that will do that for 25 years." That
Yeah.
was cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And again, it's that difference between maybe a steel plate's going to keep you on the field, but it's going to be at a reduced, playing level or reduced effectiveness. And again, you're just kind of dealing with it. It's not getting better. It's just kind of hanging out there. And again, that's the beauty of this. The way you have created it, invented it, incorporated it is hey, yeah, not going to lose your performance. It's the nonstick, it's the carbon fiber. There's still the flex of all the things to play naturally. And again, that is the beauty of all of it is when you can maintain a high level of performance. Again, the NFL is a razor thin margin. We see, plenty of the clips. Again, the difference inches make. Again, an inch of slip, an inch of a fingertip. Again, all those things, that's what separates wins and losses and playoff wins and playoff losses. And again, if you're not using these, you're using every piece. Again, coaches walk down the hallway, 1%. We got to be 1% better today. Again, you got to use every resource you have. Blumaka is going to become one of those things. Again, nearly half the NFL teams. Hopefully, we can continue to spread the word, get it out there that hey, Blumaka should be in all 32, get into every baseball franchise, every basketball. Again, it's soccer is negative. You'll be worldwide, and I would like to
Well,
say I helped start it here on Scouting the League, but I know much better than that. It'd be one small sounding board, and hey, maybe we'll get all the
well,
scouts who are standing on the sidelines wearing them.
well, here's the remarkable thing. I mean, we have been one of the major colleges up in the Pacific Northwest just ordered yesterday down on the bayou. You know, we've got a bunch of college teams. We probably have 10 college teams, but it still surprises me that we have more professional baseball teams than college buying our product. We have more professional football teams than college football teams now. It might be even, but I think spreading the word and again, we have this data, and you know there've been made so many claims made about performance and whatnot that I guess many people just don't believe it. But look, we feel validated when these professional athletes, day in and day out, come to our website and buy product. I mean, it's funny. Um, I gave Brendan, you know, he's been so helpful, a code that he can give his buddies, and I saw an order the other day from a guy that's making, I think, $45 million. He got Brendan's 20% code.
Hey, he's got to hold on. It may be a high tax state, and he's got to hold on to those extra pennies that he's making. So
I'm sure. And I texted Donnie and said, "Hey, look at this. Your buddy used this code." And he goes, "Stuart, doesn't matter how much money you make, it never changes."
yeah, absolutely. Well,
But
again,
but
all
we
our all our college GMs out there. Again, you heard again. The NFL teams are using it. MLB teams are using it. College GMs, you want to make that college football playoff again. Percentage of differences. Go use that code Scouting 20 and start loading up again as you're getting ready for camp out there. Get these insoles in there.
Yeah, and I'd be. We got one college team that ordered them for all their linemen. They said they're using it just like knee braces because
Yeah.
they have a problem and they don't want them to get hurt. You know,
Mm-hmm.
my view, this can be used both as a prevention device or prophylactic, and it can also be used as a recovery device. But you know, why would you lose a game again by sitting out an athlete with turf toe if you don't have to?
Yeah.
And turf toe, as I understand, generally happens, and maybe the trainers know better, but generally kind of creeps up on you. I mean, I'm sure there are some just catastrophic events, but you know, I just think it's really unnecessary to lose a game. I remember, you know, I'm a Nebraska fan, and I think I am hip got turf toe, and it really kind of derailed his season his senior year. I think that was back, God, was that 82 or 81? I guess I will express some frustration as fellow Nebraskans. I've got all of Nebraska's competitors. About half the guys in the Big Ten are buying them, but I can't get any attention or any love from the University of Nebraska. I don't know. It's
Got to get
frustrating,
Coach
but
Rule, and again, but maybe I might have to reach out to my people there and see what we can make happen. Because again, we've talked about it on this podcast. A good Nebraska football team is good for college football. Again, for
yeah.
those that have forgotten what Nebraska means, it has meant to college football. Again, Coach Rule getting that program rolling again. I think everybody wants, again, whether they would admit it or not, Nebraska is good for college football. So
Well, and they've always been innovative.
they have been. They did
Why?
the strength and
You know,
conditioning and a little bit of everything.
yeah. I mean, anyway, that I'm sort of joking, but I'm sort of not. It's I see these teams that Nebraska competes with buying product, and I think, boy, am I? Hey, I sell them. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong. I take the order, and I'm very grateful. But
yeah,
we'll get into Nebraska, I'm sure.
yeah.
I mean,
No,
we've had great success with Pepperdine volleyball, so I'd love to see some of the women's volleyball teams get on them. Softball, if this is working for baseball, why wouldn't it work for
exactly.
softball?
Yeah,
And as you say, soccer's next. I mean, there's just no benefit to slipping around. And the other thing that we do, most people buy insoles because they want more cushioning. And as you found out at the amusement park, it makes a difference, right?
makes a difference. It does.
So, so just again, I pride myself in using real data. This insole, see this nasty insole?
Mm.
See the circles? This was sent back to me by a 265-pound marathon runner. Now, that's not
That's
your
a big
average,
marathon runner.
and he said, I'm not your average because we guarantee the cushioning in our insoles for 1,000 miles, right?
Okay.
And again, that's not puffery. We back that up. So he sent this in, he circled a couple areas, and he said, hey, Stuart, I think I've lost my cushioning. So I sent him a new pair of insoles. I sent this immediately over to the independent testing lab, Helix. And you see this black dot? Can you see that?
Yeah, yeah. Real small in
That's
there.
where the testing lab, right in the middle of where he was concerned about losing cushioning. And we maintained after 800 miles on a 260-pound athlete, we maintained 93% of our cushioning. And for cushioning to fail in a piece of footwear, you need to lose about 15%. That's when the
Okay.
body can feel it. We've tested insoles up to 1,500 miles, 1,473 to be exact, without losing 15% of our cushioning. So when you buy our product, you're getting this additional benefit of being protected from pounding
Yeah.
for 1,000 miles. Now, the insoles that come in your cleats, I mean, that is the worst piece of junk known to, I don't even know how to say it politely. It's trash. But we've tested insoles that come in $200 running shoes that the cushioning fails. I mean, goes flat, flatter than a pancake at 4 miles. Most insoles in your cleat are failing within 25 miles. Now, you say, okay, so I lose my cushioning. I don't really buy a cleat for cushioning. But you know what? If that insole is 5 millimeters thick and the cushioning fails in less than 25 miles, it becomes compressed. So the internal volume on your shoe is now 2.5 millimeters thinner. So your shoe is looser and now you slide around more. Whereas if your cushioning maintains itself for 1,000 miles, the dimension inside your shoe is not going to change. So it will fit the way it should fit. And
Yeah.
of course, you need to wear good socks. You don't want to be wearing cotton crap like that. Get a good Drymax socks or something like that. But cushioning matters, stability matters, um, turf toe protection matters, not sliding matters. Look, if I'm a DB and I can turn faster than the receiver, I have an advantage.
Absolutely.
Donnie Eckert, the old hitting coach for the Texas Rangers, said, and he said this publicly. He said, if my team has non-slip insoles and your team doesn't, I have an advantage.
Yeah.
You were talking about that 1%. It's certainly true. And I love the fact that people spend all this money on shoes and cleats and all of this research, and then they throw this crappy, lousy, low performing insole in there, and just because it looks good, you still got the big brand and the big
Mm-hmm.
sign on the sign that said, "Oh, this is a cool shoe." But it would be like buying a car. Imagine, I know you're a sporty guy, you go down and get your Porsche, or hell, cowboy Cadillac, a Ford F-150.
There we
You
go.
open the door of your brand new car and you're greeted with a wood bench to sit on.
Mm. Not gonna
That's
spend much time in
exactly
that
what the
bad boy.
footwear. What's that?
Not gonna spend much time in that bad boy.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what you're doing when you
Yeah.
buy shoes right
Yeah.
now. You are literally sitting on technology that is as bad for your feet as standing on a wood bench
Yeah.
or sitting on a wood bench in a car. And it's frankly, I mean, Mike Yastrzemski called me one day. He had a great story. He goes, "Stuart, you got a big problem." And I go, "Oh God, Mike, what happened? You're my first customer." He goes, "Well," he said, "I pushed my insoles so hard that, right my big toe, as I split, I'm putting so much pressure. I literally am tearing the insoles apart." And he said, with the cleat brand that I wear, he said, I go through 3 to 4 pair of insoles a year, tearing them apart. He said, I've been wearing your product for 2 years and they haven't worn out. He said, nobody's going to buy a second pair. I
Yeah.
go, well, that's a good problem to
It's a
have.
good problem to have.
But I loved getting that call from Mike
Yeah.
because it was so, it just shows you what kind of trash is going inside the shoe. And think of this: what does your foot sit on? You don't sit on the shoe, you don't sit on the cleats, you don't sit on the logos on the outside.
Yeah.
Your foot sits on the footbed, whatever's in it. Your entire interaction with that shoe happens on the bottom of your foot.
Yeah.
And if you're sliding around, right, why do you think Zion Williams blew out his basketball shoe? It wasn't because his foot was staying centered. It was because his foot slid to the outside of the shoe and just kept on going.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think we can say enough about, again, how much it matters, and it's largely forgotten about, and everything that goes into this insole has been thought about. Again, the warranty, the wear and tear, the all the things that's going to make it last. And again, as you know, as anybody out there is listening, again, when your feet get tired, when your legs get tired, when you have an injury somewhere else, again, one thing leads to another. Again, your foot, you start compensating for a foot and your knee goes out. You start compensating for a knee, your hip goes out. And again, it's a chain effect. It's a chain reaction. And it's the same as you get tired too. Again, form goes out the window. The technique goes out the window. All these things. So when you have a good stable base and again, a recovery slide, a comfort insole, where again, I can tell you 4 days, 15,000 steps at a theme park, and it felt like I was, hadn't done any more walking than my average day. Again, it just means everything else is still on track. And so again, whether it was this max cushion impact or your recovery products, you've got some recovery products even in addition to these insoles that you're going to put in your shoes. Again, the recovery is a growing part of everything, every gym, every trainer, every
Right.
agent. It's a massive part of it. So talk about that recovery piece. Again, if you're just throwing a comfort insole in your everyday walk around shoes or the other stuff you have.
Well, there's two points to that. There's the recovery footwear, which I'll grab here in a second. Also, keep in mind, if plantar fasciitis is a big thing, right? And people are spending $400, $500, $600 going to a podiatrist, and sometimes you need to do that. But like we have, even in our non-slip product and our comfort product, we put in this arch support We make it low, medium, and high arch. And if you've got plantar fasciitis issues, you go to the high arch product. And a lot of people say, well, I don't want to wear those supportive inserts, orthotics, because they're hard. They're
Mm-hmm.
hard plastic. And so we said, look, let's be a little smarter. Let's make the rigid plastic piece, cup the heel, but leave softness under the calcaneus. So you support it where you need it, you leave relief where you want it, and then even the Achilles tendon, we put an Achilles dip here so that you're not going to irritate the Achilles. So this is a recovery type item, or if you're dealing with plantar fasciitis, but you can see right in the bottom of this, it's got the support, but I can push my thumb, I don't know if you can see that, but right through it. So you need to do that with your if you're dealing with plantar fasciitis, go that way. Or if you're trying to fit it in a cleat that has small volume, go with a thin version, the low profile, which also has, if it's high arch, it has that orthotic grade in support. But then when you get done, you know, we make this the Flex footwear brand, um, and you'll notice that it has this nice anatomical shape. You're not going to slide through it. You see the toe post down here so
Mm-hmm.
that you're not sliding, because you see a lot of people you see a lot of people sliding right through their recovery slides, and they're
Yeah.
hanging on with their toes. It's got a nice anatomical shape. You're cupping your heel, and we make flip-flops that way. We make some slippers. These have been
Stylish.
huge at the spa. This
Yeah.
is real sheepskin. And all of these products the cushioning or the comfort that you feel day one will last for 1,000 miles. And sort of our hidden little secret, we haven't really talked about it, but if you want to feel better about what we're doing, can you see the shoe shape in here, Rodrik?
That's an odd looking shoe.
Yeah, well, they cut it out. And or this, can you see all the shoes they cut
There
out
we
of here?
go. Yeah.
But all of this foam, it's really premium, high quality foam that these running shoe brands are throwing away. This is plastic. You can't melt it down because it's a two-part plastic. We take this, chop it up, and it becomes here. This is why we're getting so many miles of cushioning, is we're taking some of the highest quality foam in the world. So not only do we have performance, but we have the least environmentally harmful insole product ever made, or our recovery line, the same thing, where you're being very thoughtful about what you're doing. I mean, I love footwear, right? I got into this, but I would go out behind these shoe factories that I was working in, and there would be piles of this foam bigger than the building.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my dad taught me on the ranch. He said, "Yeah, Stuart, topsoil is the most valuable thing. We don't let it blow. We don't let
Yeah.
water run off of it. This is, you got to take care of the environment." And when I saw all of this foam behind these buildings, I just thought, you know what? There's something we can do with this.
Yeah.
And the fact that we can create products that are going to last 1,000 miles,
Yeah.
last longer than the products they're making.
Yeah.
But there's enough of this foam for me to make 5 billion insoles a year. That's how big this problem is.
Well, hopefully we can get to that number and use up every bit of the foam. Again, it's one of those things. NFL teams, MLB teams, a lot of our listeners out there. Again, the environmental impact is kind of secondary of thought. But when you talk about 85% recycled content, that's one thing. Okay, near zero water. Again, we all understand our water issues. Broken Bow may not always be the wettest place. Again, we all live in the dry areas, and no chemicals. Again, you put those three things together, and it's hard to find a downside for using these insoles. And again, you're right. It's your company. I've worn them. I'm going to be a spokesman for them. Use that scouting 20 to get a pair, test a pair, and then you'll come back and buy 3 or 4 more. And again, as it continues to find its way into every locker room, every sport, every college. Again, who knows? Maybe we'll end up around the world. Be making trips to Europe, and with the get Man United and some of the big soccer teams using them, and again, just continue to change the game. But again, the website's blumaka.com, blumaka.com, as well as flexfootwear.com, FLEKS footwear.com. Use that code scouting20. Stuart, as we kind of wrap up and jump off here again, you've got your data on the website. I believe you can find everything there. Again, your story, more of your story. Again, all you have to type in Stuart Jenkins, Blumaka. There'll be a number of different articles, things come up. If where else are you at? Are you a social media guy? Are you doing anything anywhere else where people can maybe reach out to you?
Well, I'm definitely on LinkedIn, and if anybody wants to get the data, they can reach out to Blumaka, the help desk at Blumaka, and it'll probably get answered by me. So that we want to share all of the research and all the data. We're not buttering anybody's cupcakes here. We want them to know. So you can always reach out. We are in some running stores. We'd love to be in more. We're in about 55, 60 running stores across the country. Flex Footwear is in about 90 different retail outlets, and we're just growing that business as we can. Our insoles are on Amazon. You search Amazon Blue Maca. By the way, I don't know Blue Maca. Did you know that maca is the Native American word in central Nebraska for earth?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so
We
that's where the
learned
name
something
came
new
from,
today.
was Blue Earth, and um, so maca is the Native American word for earth.
Beautiful. Well, that is a perfect wrap up here. Make sure you go check out blumaka.com, flexfootwear.com. Find Stuart on LinkedIn. Try some of these insoles. Again, I can't speak highly enough for them. They're comfortable. You slip them in your shoes, and I can promise you, as scouts, as you get out on the road, you're going to be more comfortable after your 18th visit here during training camp, as you're on the sideline. Pro scouts, college scouts, GMs, as you're out watching practice. Again, no matter where you're at, trainers, agents, check them out. Go find them. Stuart, this has been fantastic. I am really excited to hear through the process more and more success stories. Again, we'll before we know it, we'll be having players score touchdowns, pull the insole out of their shoe, and maybe just show it off in the end zone there. That's that next step, right?
Well, that's my dream, and so we appreciate it, Rodrik, and remember, slip less, win more.
Yep. Slip less, win more. We appreciate it, Stuart. Thanks for being on.
Thank you.
Agents, before we go, make sure you go check out Agent Live 360. It is at agentlive360.com for everything you need for your agency, from players to coaches, managing profiles, tracking invoices, sending invoices, getting paid, keeping up on every element of your entire agency. Notification emails, file folder storage, ROI, transactions, invoices, calendar, contracts, teams, reps, everything all in one spot for you. That is Agent Live 360. Hop on, request a demo. Yours truly will hop on, walk you through it. I can promise you we will talk some football as well. Sign up now with code TRIAL90 for a 90-day, 3-month trial at just $10 a month for Agent Live 360. That's at agentlive360.com. Go check it out now.